Hey guys, I'm really excited about today's guest, Jesse Johnston. He's got 25 years in the real estate industry, but it's not just about real estate, it's about financial freedom, it's about financial literacy. With these days and age, with the volatility and the uncertainty, he's here to come talk to us about winning in business through developing meaningful connections with your team, growing your business, and it's going to be a fantastic discussion for the audience. So, Jesse, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm really excited to be here and having the opportunity to kind of share some of my experience with your audience.
Yeah. So kind of tell people about your story, your background, how you got started, and we'll delve right into it.
Yeah. I love telling my story because it started back in 1999. So I get to start off every time saying I got into real estate at the turn of the century, and it was a great time to get in. I started in the mortgage industry. And was there until 2008. And then in 2008, I decided to get my real estate license. It was a great time to get into real estate, believe it or not, because while the market wasn't fantastic, it was a great time to get in, learn, and take market share. Yeah. And then from there, I got really passionate about building team. My story around building team really starts, it's kind of what's interesting. It's kind of built around the time that I had my children. I moved from being very transactional to very personal and building, learning to build people and relationship and connection with those people. And in my most recent role, I was president of title operations for Compass in like New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And so kind of talk about like, I love this idea where people kind of, they have a family or they have some wake up moment where they're like, oh, I have to stop trading my time for money. I have to make my money last. I'm not going to be able to work forever. And so kind of talk about this idea of, starting out the entrepreneurship path, kind of finding growth and meaning and purpose in your why.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because 2011 was a really challenging year for me. I was due to have my second daughter, who was born in July of 2011, and I had a friend who passed away that year. And at the same time, I was the top producing solo agent in my office at that time. And so while in many ways I was, as people would say, killing it, I don't usually use that, but I didn't know why I was doing it. It didn't matter to me. Like being the top agent, getting to that position didn't matter to me anymore. And I was like, well, what does matter? Right. And it's interesting. I heard John Maxwell say this recently, like, if you want to be successful, you can easily do that alone. But if you want to have a life of significance, it's going to take other people. And so I became very passionate about people. I mean, I've always loved people and I've always been a team player, a team leader, but in 2011, I became very passionate about people.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of this quote. It's like kind of, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to have, a team of people. And the best leaders, they can create teams and systems. With these days, you have software, but, kind of the best teams and kind of push you further. Of course, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but you go a little bit farther. So, which is really
the interesting thing about software that you mentioned, like software is fantastic, but like software is only as good as the input, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? People are only as good as the input as well. They're only as good as the vision that the visionary is able to put out there. So I would say in 2011, while I was becoming passionate about building team and building people, I wasn't very good at it, right? It took years and years of trial and error and hiring for the wrong reasons, not knowing why I was hiring the wrong people, not training them properly, not leading them properly to kind of hone those skills. So I think, that's the great thing about podcasts nowadays is you could hear from a lot of different voices on how to become a great leader and what it means to be a great leader. And, and then you can kind of piece together what your fit is. But I will say, I'll drop, the one book that got me on the right path, I would say, was Daniel Pink's Drive. That book helped me understand what really drives people to be more successful, right? It's this idea of purpose, autonomy, and mastery, and those three things. And what I love about that is autonomy, like having the ability to kind of put your own signature on what's happening. Like, yes, there is one way to do it, However, we still haven't had the best thoughts in real estate yet. We still haven't had the best thoughts in, medical care yet, right? Those are still to come, right? And so if we don't allow autonomy for people to think and do what's they're passionate about, and all we're asking them to do is just drive the ball the way we ask them to do it, drive the business the way we ask them to do it, guess what? That's what burns people out. And that's what also slows down the growth of your business. So yes, we need to have standards. Yes, we need to have rules, and we need to have, but giving people that autonomy, and then that autonomy in a place where they want to gain mastery is a combination for success.
Yeah. Talk about this idea of winning in business through developing meaningful connection with your team.
Yeah. So over time, it was funny. A lot of my team members, they loved their one-on-ones with me, and I, started to, continue to hone those. For me, like, if I don't know you and I don't know where you want to go, how can I lead you, right? Especially in a real estate industry where everybody on the team is essentially an independent contractor. How can I direct you unless it's in a direction that I want to go? And as a leader, I'm not afraid of friction, but I tried to create as much of a friction-free leadership style as possible, which is like, tell me where you want to be. Okay, cool. Are you okay if I hold you accountable to get to that point? So, but step one really started with this idea of getting to know you. So now I know you, I see you, and I hear you, and I know what you're about. And in my current practice, I use for someone who's a direct report to me, I actually have a questionnaire that I have them complete. Weirdly, it's a bit like a dating profile, but for all of the right reasons. I want to know who I'm in business with. And I kind of use that to align with, how do these people want to be recognized? Because recognition is a big deal in the world today, especially in a remote environment where you can be doing great work, but no one sees it. But so how do I recognize you? How do you celebrate your birthday? Who are the important people in your life? What would you like to do on your birthday? Do you want to celebrate with me over lunch, or would you rather have the day off to spend with your family? So we go deep into what their desires are. Also trying to understand, like, what are some things that are maybe misunderstood about your personality, so we know, like, hey, when this is happening, this is what it means. And then also just like, what are your big goals? Like, where do you want to be? Because as a leader, if I knew you, Chris, you were on my team, and I knew that you wanted to be in a completely different position 5 years from now, if I knew that today and I can help you get there, your work today would be a lot more focused, because you won't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? You'll be giving me your best while I help you get to where you want to get to. So is that getting to know you, see you, hear you portion is a big part of it. That's just step one. Step two is, really developing the relationship during a weekly or regular scheduled one-on-one. It's everybody has one-on-ones, right? And a lot of times the one-on-ones are like, oh man, I have this meeting with my boss. I reverse it. It's not my agenda. It's your agenda, right? I that's how I run my one-on-ones. I make it their agenda, and then I ask permission at the end to kind of go over what other things we have to do in work. When you're aligned with your people, you don't have to worry about their agenda being so far away from the company's agenda, right? From the business agenda, because they're aligned with what you're doing. And so another opportunity to just hear, see, and know what's going on. This is a place where you develop deeper relationship. 1, 2, you get to hear some ideas, because again, we still haven't had the best idea yet, right? They're still coming. So you're hearing from your people, which gives them that novelty, that autonomy to to kind of think on their own. And then you're providing feedback to help them get towards their ultimate goals. And a lot of times, I love taking those offline and, hey, like, let's do your one-on-one. Let's take a walk and talk, because a lot of times when you make it informal, you actually connect deeper with people, because you're going to hear things on the walk that you wouldn't hear on the video on Zoom or whatever. So I like to take it deeper from that level as well.
Yeah. We were kind of, talking in the back room, and the podcast is really about financial freedom, financial literacy. Talk about, and real estate is one of those means. It's not the only one, but it's got its asset classes and got its advantages and disadvantages. And we're not promoting anything, but just kind of 3 steps to grow your business, to your level and beyond.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'm going to answer that a little bit differently. I'm going to come at it from financial freedom. And what I love, I did a 35 episode podcast, not a big one, with a young guy who was one of my pupils, one of my mentees. And he was in his 20s. And when he was in his early 20s, he had purchased a home that he lived in with his friends. That's called quote unquote house hacking. I'm sure someone has talked about that on the show before. If you want to take a great step to launching anything in your life, buying real estate early and finding a way to house hack that is a fantastic way to start. And for the physicians out there, I love the idea of doing this during your residency, because during your residency, you actually qualify for a physician's loan, which is basically you can get into a home with 0% down without private mortgage insurance. And if you're in a great market, like Philadelphia is probably a fantastic market for this, because the prices are, and that's the market that I work in. So prices are low enough that you can get in. And if you do run it as a house hack, you could actually almost live for free while running your residency. Then when you're done with your residency, because you know the people within the residency, you can go back to them and say, hey, I have a home that I'd like to rent to people in the residency program. And to me, that is almost like as close to an annuity as possible. And honestly, I got excited about coming on this show because I was like, I want to run this program with somebody. So if anybody out there wants to talk about that, please contact me. I'd love to help you do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did in med school, because I owned real estate. It was super cheap. It was cheaper to buy than rent in Houston, and so I house hacked it and then rented it out. And I came back in 2008 when all the market was depressed, and just bought up real estate. And then what I did was in residency, I also purchased a unit which is also rented out to the future residents. So
that's amazing. I'm glad that you ran the program. Well, I would say, honestly, a solid foundation for your life like that, getting started early with some sort of investing. I want to preach that to everyone, because my friend Matt has done so well for himself. He just turned 30. He just bought himself a big single family home. I'm just, very proud of him to see that happen. And the funny thing about my podcast, Chris, was the story was do what Matt did, not what Jesse did. Right. So I got to learn the lessons, and then I got to watch it work with someone who was, one of my mentees. So the second step, you asked me for 3 steps. The second step is I would create an absolute set of core values for your business. If you don't know what you stand for, what's the line from Hamilton? If you don't know what you stand for, what will you fall for? That has created an opportunity. Like when the last business that I built, we created 2 solid core values. And when I went out to sell the company, went either to new customers or recruits or anyone that they were able to see, like, this company actually stands for something that matters. And it helped me attract really some great top talent that are now running that company. So to me, like, that's a solid step 2, know what you stand for. And then step 3 is always, for me, it's like find the 5 people in that company that are, your direct reports, and make sure you win with them and teach them how to win with their people. Because at the end of the day, we're only as good as the people we have around us. And the more we can encourage them to develop as a person and as an employee, the faster the business will grow, the more successful they'll be. And frankly, who wants to work with people who aren't happy? All right. We want to work with people that feel engaged, that aren't happy, that know that their boss is actually looking out for their best.
Yeah. I love that. They say that the best time to buy real estate was yesterday, and the next best time is today. Real estate is a long-term play. It's not, a lot of people think it's like you're a realtor, you're a speculator, or flipping, more it's more just buy and hold, and just preserve your wealth in there.
I agree. And also understanding, like, why are you buying the real estate? Like, what's the value? Like, what's the purpose behind it? Financial freedom is a nice statement, but why do you want financial freedom? Like, what does that do for you? So that goes back to the core values. And I would also say on the real estate side, building out that team. So who are your wealth determiners? Who are your success determiners in your real estate portfolio? That's the same as building any other team, whether it's in a corporate situation or otherwise. Knowing those people and diving deep and getting to understand them, it will lead to higher more success.
Yeah. Well, kind of piggyback off of what you're talking about is this. You talk about the top 3 things to avoid while growing your business. I'm curious what that is.
Yeah, well, the top, I would say number 1 is, hiring the wrong person, like hiring out of need, right? So that to me is absolutely a no-no. So basically, you get to the point you grew your business so big, and then you just throw a body in to run that business. And if you do that, if you've done that enough times, like I can say I have early on in my career, like what you find out is not only did it cost you money, it cost you time, it cost you happiness, and it may cost you your reputation in some cases. The other thing I would say is, again, I'm all about connection, but I'd never call so number 2 is I'd never call my business a family, right? Like that to me is a no-no. I think we could build a strong team. We can even be a squad. That was actually one of my previous teams. We called ourselves a squad. But family is different. So I think, avoiding that. And the third would be not investing into your people. A lot of companies, for many reasons, think it's good to run lean and mean. And I absolutely believe that. But investing in their education, training, and growth is absolutely most important. And you can hear, Chris, I'm all about people.
Yeah, I love that. Where can people find out more about you, read about you, reach out to you, etc.?
Yeah, Chris. Well, there's a couple of things I'm doing right now. One is I'm doing consulting for large real estate teams or larger producers. So that is one thing that I'm doing. And I'm very passionate about meeting with other leaders, founders, and frankly, even heads of household that are looking for help building deeper connection. If you have any interest in that, you can find me at jessedjohnston.com. That's JESSE, D as in David, and then Johnston at .com. So
yeah, for all the audience out there, let's thank Jesse for coming on and talking about really interesting ideas around team and building and scaling centered around financial freedom. Real estate is part of that. All of Jesse's on LinkedIn and Instagram, and all of his resources will be in the links and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Chris. This was great.